Welcome to the Modern Watchman podcast, where faith meets the front lines of culture.
We break down what's happening in the world, what's behind it, and how believers can stand strong in truth.
We're not here to fear the times, we're here to understand them.
Because being watchmen means staying awake, staying ready, and staying grounded in the Word.
Let's get into it. Welcome to the Modern Watchman podcast with Tom and Wendy. Happy New Year. It's our first New Year podcast. And it is our 41st episode. Can you believe it? What have we even said? What have we talked about?
We said some stuff, talked about some stuff. We're going to get straight into it tonight.
Get in.
The United States
We woke up this morning.
attacked Venezuela or captured Maduro, arrested Maduro, however you want to put it. All these months of naval buildup has culminated in some
Regime change.
regime change.
Well, at least regime dismantling. So far, not so changed. But remains to be seen. What do you make of it, Tom?
Well, it's funny because I'd already made a note in my phone, a voice memo like 2 days ago, or was it yesterday, about how I wanted to kind of dive into like proxy states, PROXY, how North Korea acts as a proxy for China.
What does that mean?
Basically how things that China cannot diplomatically get away with or does not want to have to navigate directly as a Chinese action. For example, threatening Japan and the US with intercontinental ballistic nuclear missiles. But here we've got North Korea, that's this like wild card that has to be dealt with, that gets negotiated with, and China can tell them to calm down and sit down and be quiet, or they can tell them to, hey, now might be a good time to, stir the pot. There's a lot of proxy relationships. China and North Korea
They call Ukraine
are a good
a proxy
example.
war because we don't want to go directly against Putin and Russia, but we can go against Putin and Russia via Ukraine.
Right, and so there's like kind of proxy wars, proxy states, and they often can kind of be one and the same. Mm-hmm. Yes, I would say that it's been the reason why that subject came up for me was I wanted to discuss how it was becoming very, very, very clear to me that this was
not just about drug boats.
Well, no, the Ukraine situation was not, I know we've talked about this on the other episodes about the history of where it all really goes back to, but like we started a coup back in what did we say 2014
was the or 2014 I think.
Either way, we started a coup with the United States in Ukraine, and how that really is what led us to where we are today in a lot of ways. And that the war in Ukraine, the reason why even when Trump's in office, we're not really like stopping it or truly stopping funding it, is Ukraine is a proxy for the West, for Europe and for the United States, and that our collective intelligence agencies and deep state want that war to be fought, and it will be fought until they're over it. So there's now bringing up Venezuela. Venezuela is becoming a proxy state for China. They're heavily influenced by China, substantial supplier of oil to China.
And not also BRICS?
That's a good question about whether they were directly a member of BRICS or not yet. Can you look that up? I'm curious, actually. They were also affiliated with Russia in Iran, but China was really a big But China was really a big influence in Venezuela. And China really loved kind of creeping into our backyard. And Venezuela has the largest oil reserves on the planet. So they're a huge find. And the fact that, I mean, it's kind of like a little bit embarrassing if you think about it from sort of a nationalist standpoint, from a Monroe Doctrine standpoint, that we allowed
What is
China.
a Monroe Doctrine standpoint?
I might be wrong on what my impression of it, but the kind of like we should dominate our hemisphere.
Where
That's
does
probably
that
a
come
really
from?
Monroe is my guess.
Maryland.
Yes, Marilyn Monroe. James Monroe. Can you look that up too? What was the answer?
No,
on,
Venezuela is not a full member, but they are working towards
yeah, ask what the
membership.
Monroe Doctrine. Yeah, my understanding of the Monroe Doctrine is just sort of that, like, we should dominate in our
President James Monroe.
in the Western Hemisphere. It warned European powers to stay out of the Western Hemisphere. So it would be an expansion of the Monroe Doctrine to kind of say not just European powers to stay out of the Western Hemisphere, but that, like, we should dominate our region of the world. So the fact that China got as close to Venezuela as they did, Cuba being a communist country in our backyard is kind of an embarrassment. We've talked about that on the podcast in the past.
Imperialistic ideas.
I'm a pretty well isolationist, but cap my case. If I'm going to be imperialist, I think it should be around that Monroe Doctrine element, sort of that, like, Cuba should be an American territory, a U.S. territory.
So, like, to be an isolationist, you have to be an imperialist.
Why
Like,
do
you
mean
have
that?
to surround yourself so you can keep yourself boxed in.
Well, and no, that's kind of a good point. I see what you're saying with that, and that is a good point. And, like, it's not that I want to be an isolationist, but
You can't really worry about yourself if China's in Cuba.
and we should have, in our close sphere of influence geographically, we should have as much
Control.
robust economic power as we can. And when you take a place like Cuba, which has, I mean, there are crops and there's agricultural commodities that can only be grown in the southernmost areas of the United States. Florida is huge for that. Southern California is huge for that. But, like, Cuba probably has as much land mass as, like, all of the agricultural land that grows those crops right now. And we won Cuba fair and square in the Spanish-American War. And we basically gave it back to Spain. And so
Look what good did.
I guess for those of you who are like, Tom, you're crazy, what do you just want more wars? I'm saying we had our chance to basically have it. And and so it's not that crazy for me to say, like,
Well, didn't
Cuba
we just
could
take
have
Panama
been
back?
No, we gave Panama back.
I know, but didn't we just recently take it back?
We
or
didn't
we're trying
take
to
it
take
back,
it back,
no,
or we took
no.
control over it? Is that what we did?
I think Trump sort of sternly warned Panama because Panama gave control
To China.
over the company that, like, runs the Panama Canal. They gave to a Chinese firm, and I believe, and Trump was like, no, like, you can't
He
cut
was
the United
like,
States out.
We've got it. We've got it back.
Well, I guess this whole Venezuela thing. One, we cut the legs out from, hopefully, a Chinese proxy state being in our backyard. We hopefully secured the largest oil field to be dominated by U.S. oil. And I think we sent a message to a lot of other countries in our region from just a Monroe Doctrine standpoint that we have. It's funny because when you look at, like, the military, the naval fleets and stuff, it's like we always have aircraft carrier task force or whatever in the Mediterranean. We always have one in the Persian Gulf in the Middle East, if not two. we always have one in the Pacific Ocean out, kind of Taiwan-ish area, kind of keeping tabs on that. Like, there hasn't been a carrier task force stationed in the Caribbean. Now, part of that's because we're so robustly defended, we didn't need it, kind of thing, but we just really weren't exerting power.
It is funny
close
how
to
we were
home.
like, we're just gonna put this here. Everybody settle down. We're just gonna put these here. Just settle down. It's about drug boats.
Quapush.
Not about drug boats.
Yes, it is really more about China and where we go from here. Now, so
China and also the petrodollar.
yes, it is a message to BRICS to some degree, or a message to the world that
We still command oil,
the Americans,
which is a good news.
Enforce-
Good news for the dollar for the moment.
they enforce the dollar with force, and
Here we are.
that will
Didn't
go
we just
on.
say that like a couple podcasts
No, we were just
about?
talking about this.
We were like, we're gonna
and
have
that
to-
is good and bad. It's important to kind of take into account that like it is just emphasizing what we've already said, that is what keeps the American dollar in power, and it will work until it doesn't, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But this is a great example that is what we do. You can count on us to do that
It is.
when necessary.
What do we think about Pete Hegseth saying he effed around and found out in a official capacity? I think it's great, personally.
I don't care so much one way or the other. I'm
I
not
laughed out
upset
loud.
about Pete.
I laughed out loud
like-
that he said effed around. I was like,
I will say, so I said I actually tried to be as positive as I can and kind of highlight the good things that could potentially come out of this. I would also say, like, this is so early on. We've now created a power vacuum we've created a power vacuum. We've pissed off China to some degree, whether it'll be publicly stated or not, Russia and Iran. We've created a power vacuum in the nation with the largest oil reserve in the world. So we're going to see probably some
Trump
volatility.
says there's no power vacuum.
Well, and
Trump says we're in control. We're in control of the nation.
and we will see. The United States has not done regime change right yet.
Ever? Or just
the
recently?
history of American regime change is that's where we fight a war 25 years later. You know what I mean? Like you go to Afghanistan.
He did say he's not afraid of boots on the ground.
No, well, I guess what I'm getting at is I'm fine with like taking his word for it for the moment of like he's getting control. Well, Trump's a different guy than most guys, I'll give him that. However, history says this is just getting going.
Oh yeah.
What does China has a say in this? Or what say do they have? Like how much can they create a civil war in Venezuela? The cartels have a say in this. Are they gonna find a new way to survive in Venezuela, or are they going to help China create a civil war? Just exactly what this is going to look like. Are we going to control all of Venezuela, or is there actually going to become two states here? We just don't know. And I'm not trying to be negative, but like we're less than 24 hours in, and it's just not a sure thing.
When Trump was talking today during his press conference, I thought he said, somebody asked a question from the audience, and what's really frustrating about these press conferences is when they're all yelling, nobody repeats the question. Trump will just answer it to whoever he's, addressing in the audience. So I didn't hear the question, but he said something along the lines of like, not that woman. We won't be giving that woman the power, which I took to be the female, I can't remember her name.
Machado.
Yeah. That is like the favorite, apparently, of Venezuelans. But I actually reached out to a friend of mine today from Venezuela who has come here as a refugee, essentially.
Yeah, saw asylum
Yeah.
here. Yeah, years ago.
Years ago.
Yeah, years ago. But because of Chavez or because of Maduro?
Yeah, well,
It probably both.
both.
You know, probably.
She was thrilled today. Like,
Sure.
today was a good day. Something they've been praying for a really long time. She took it to mean that he was talking about the female vice president when he answered that part of the question. So that's possible that he was saying, we're not negotiating with that woman, the female
Right.
vice president. We're going to maybe go a different
I'm
direction.
surprised they didn't nab her too.
I know, that's interesting. Well, and then my friend also said this is just the beginning, because there's a whole, of course, like you're saying, there's a whole slew of people that are, she said, worse than Maduro, who are still in positions of power,
Right.
that are going to white knuckle
problems.
it. They're going to try to slip themselves in there. So, like you said, this is not just cut and dry, and not all the bad people are gone and all the good people are there. There are other bad people, and again, per her confession, possibly worse than the one we just removed.
This is going to go kind of deep, but this is what I really don't trust. Well, I think when I bring, concerns up, oftentimes people think I'm like criticizing Trump or the Trump administration. What I don't trust is that I don't trust the people around Trump, and I'm not even talking about his cabinet members.
Sure.
So you have to understand, what are the...
Well, we know Lindsey Graham was having a good morning.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm getting at, is you have to look at the influences involved.
Yeah.
And when you talk about, like, basically this going extremely well and being like the first American regime change to like go smoothly is not in the interest of the guys who do war.
Yeah, who like to...
Right? So the guys who make bombs and, love a good war that brings all new sorts of equipment. We got to solve new problems. And, we spent 25 years building desert warfare equipment. And now we're going to be in the jungles of Venezuela. We're going to have a whole bunch of new orders for new things and blah, blah, blah. There's no incentive for those people to have a smooth regime change that does not require a 5-year, 10-year war. You know what I mean? So what I'm getting at is, like, it's not that I don't like trust that Trump has a plan or wants to like have the greatest regime change ever. I'm sure he has plans for this was the greatest regime change in the history. It's never been seen before. I don't doubt that. My concern is all the other interests around that would just love for this thing to go south for him, because they get everything they ever wanted and more. So that's where I'm like, this is a slip. There's so much that can go wrong, and there's so many interests even in our own country. Like Lindsey Graham, he doesn't, when Lindsey Graham talks about regime change with Maduro, he's not talking about
what we just did,
about our friends that sought asylum here. He's talking about his friends who build bombs.
Yeah.
Like any new war is a good war to some of these people. So
where's Lindsey Graham?
I don't want to answer that. The first things that came to mind were very un-Christ-like.
I meant like...
probably diddling some kid.
Geographically on the map is what I meant. Well, who does he represent? What state?
Isn't he Carolina?
I don't know. I'm asking.
He's Lindsey Graham of South Carolina. Look it up. That's what your job is, because you took my phone because your phone doesn't work. It ain't in your texts, okay?
Yep. Lindsey Graham. The other thing I found interesting, I can't talk in agent.
Like a graham cracker.
Oh my gosh.
Like a graham cracker.
Yeah, it keeps
Lindsey
erasing.
Graham cracker.
My nails are too long. South Carolina. Prominent figure in the Republican Party.
Yeah, I don't even
Agree to
like that.
disagree.
He's a military lawyer in the Air Force. He gives the Air Force a bad name.
Another thing I found interesting about this execution of this is it was done not as a DOD, like not as a military operation, but as a DOJ operation, where essentially the military escorted in police officers or law enforcement officers, I guess would be a better word, to deliver this arrest warrant or serve this arrest warrant and arrest Maduro. So that circumvents the need for any congressional direction
powers.
or war
I think
powers.
that was fake and tokeny. Like,
What do you mean?
Like, I think they did it just to circumvent.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
Okay. So like, this is what I'm saying. Let's not get all neoconish happy about how we like legally
Why you
did
gotta
this.
call me a neocon all the time?
I didn't call you. I said let's not get neoconish happy.
You were talking about me saying that.
No, I said let's not get neoconish happy. Okay.
You just said it out of the clear blue sky to no one in particular. Nobody's getting neocon happy. I'm
Okay.
just saying. I'm informing our audience as to what happened.
And I'm
because it's
informing them.
relevant and interesting and clever.
And
Here's-
fake.
Fake? What do you mean fake?
So we have the Gerald Ford United States Naval Aircraft Carrier Task Force is in the Caribbean. We have rebuilt an airfield in Puerto Rico. We've been flying in goods. Like, this is a massive military operation.
Right.
We used some sort of bombers or fighter bomber capabilities to knock out air defenses.
Yep.
We flew the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment,
which fly over my house all the time, apparently,
to fly in special operations soldiers that had a token DEA agent with them to be like, this is just a law enforcement mission. Let's just be real about it. Let's be realistic. That's bullshit.
Excuse me, stop cussing on my podcast, first of all.
Okay. Then
why is that BS?
Because I just outlined it. It's a giant military operation.
Yeah, but
there's like, how many, if you were to weight it percentage-wise.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
Yeah, but what do you mean?
Are you saying that
Can we call it what it is?
Okay, yeah, I think you're just missing my point.
What's your point?
My point is I could give two pieces of poop about Congress and their action or inaction and their twiddling of thumbs of how long they want to think on if they're going to take any action in any direction for any purpose, for any reason. Bye. We'll just go around. I'm okay with it, frankly.
Okay, I don't think that's a very popular, like that's what happened in Iraq and Afghanistan too, was
they were
the presidents went around
for that.
Congress. I mean, they gave them some
super on board for that.
Yes and no, but whatever.
Which ones weren't on board?
No, what I'm saying is Congress did not declare war.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Trump found a more creative way to get around that.
Yeah.
Without congressional approval.
Yeah.
And he came up.
It's creative.
It's definitely creative, but I'm just saying, let's not take it hook, line, and sinker. It's the administration going around Congress.
Okay.
I mean, sure, it's like come up with a clever lawyer reason or something, but I don't. It is what it is.
It's part of the situation.
It was a military operation.
You're weirdly defensive?
No, but is it not a military operation?
Sure, honey, yeah, of course.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's not a military operation. I'm just saying it is legally under this other department, which I just find interesting. It's an interesting fact. That's it.
Legally under this other department. Okay.
I didn't know you could do that.
Well, because you couldn't.
Well, you obviously can because your point is that everybody has done it always.
No,
they circumvent Congress.
It's just a different version of WMDs.
Okay, so how did he do it then?
Well, with WMDs. He tried to get people worked up and scared enough of a reason. Well, what
does that mean? If people are scared enough, you don't have to go through Congress? Like, how did he execute starting a war without a declaration of war?
The Bush administration tried to strong arm and intimidate and get the American people afraid of it enough so that Congress would support it, but there were no WMDs. What I'm saying, in this case, we made up one reason, narco-terrorism.
So did Congress.
But really, we know that it's about China and the petrodollar and these other things.
Did Congress declare war in the Iraq situation?
No, Congress hasn't declared war since World War II. Yeah.
Okay. So there's lots of ways around Congress. This isn't the first.
I'm just saying,
most
let's
creative.
just call it what it is. It's just
right,
another way
everybody,
around
please-
congressional war powers.
Please forgive me for
I'm not
taking
picking
any
on
credit
you.
away from our great military and their
That's
operations.
not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's wrong. It's not right to believe that this is a DOJ operation. That's a farce. That's only there to be used as a reason to go around congressional war powers.
Sounds good, honey. Carry on.
I think that's important.
I also thought it was important to add that, but apparently, no, it's not important. It's fake and dumb. And if you know that information, how dare you know it? What else would you like to say about it?
I think we'll be cutting the commercial break here. I don't have anything else to say about it.
About Venezuela at all?
No, I've covered everything that I have to say.
Should we get that other girl in there?
I don't know much about the people that we're going to bring in.
Well, she would be not the people we're going to bring in. She would be the people that apparently were legitimately elected by Venezuela. So I guess that's my question. In Ukraine, when we did this, did the people want Zelensky? Had they wanted him, or did we just install him? Was he already a popular guy there? Like, what's the story?
Well, he was a
actor, comedian.
Yeah, he was a popular, known figure. That wasn't the guy that we were trying to get in the coup, or that we installed in the coup initially.
Mm-hmm.
Zelensky came after that guy, and I am not sure how he got in there. But the thing about Ukraine is that it's like a regional thing. Like, if you held a election in the United States for should the southern states secede and have their own country, 80 something percent of the country would absolutely vote no. And some of the people in the southeastern states of the country would vote yes. So like, that's kind of Ukraine. Like, there is some loyalty to Russia in that, gosh, what is it, like southeastern side of the country, whatever that is. In some of those regions, there are legitimately people who don't want to move towards Europe and move towards Ukraine, but want to move towards Russia. And then a good chunk of the country is Ukrainian, not Russian. But yeah, I believe that's how Zelensky got in, was the Americans were pushing that road to NATO and all that.
Okay. So, I mean, if Trump does put this gal in, it seems that would be favorable for the Venezuelans.
I don't know much about what the Venezuelans are looking for, but I would imagine they're looking for sort of like economic opportunity.
Well, my friend from Venezuela said that is what the country absolutely wants.
Is her.
Mm-hmm. Her family's all still in Venezuela, so it's not like she's here and has completely lost touch with what's happening there.
Right. Well, I mean, I think that, they're trying to, I would just think they're looking for less oppression and
yeah, that's what she said. They just
economic
want peace.
Opportunity. Yeah.
They want the Venezuela they once had that has been stripped. And
well, that's also important to note that like Venezuela was
thriving,
arguably the wealthiest, most Western country in South America, just absolutely thriving. Caracas was like, what did they call it? I forget. You know how sometimes they'll refer to cities like as the,
city on a hill.
No, like was the Rome of the West, or the whatever. Wasn't it? But like Caracas was a thriving metropolitan, city on the Caribbean.
So Chavez before Maduro ruined that?
Yeah, that was
what ruined it?
Well, Hugo Chavez was no good. Moved things towards
Communism,
nationalized oil fields. Maduro, I believe it was Maduro, kicked out the other companies from like foreign companies from running the oil fields. They had a big disaster of like when these guys nationalize this stuff and they kick out. I mean, these oil rigs and oil refineries and all this equipment is like highly technical. Needs constant maintenance, needs constant repair. And when you kick all the people out that worked on it, you know what I mean? That were the engineers on it and all this stuff, it's often like it's just not something you can just hire a bunch of your goons off the street to like go run the world's largest oil fields. So they had a moment there where they just really stepped in it, and suffered dramatically in lower oil output, which their nation depended on. So they kind of did it to themselves because, again, these guys, you'd think, it just goes to show how corrupt.
We tried to do that to ourselves.
You and
No more
I.
drilling. No, our country.
We
No
did
more
nationalize.
drilling. No, I know. But we were freaking on our way.
But yeah, they, I forget. I remember paying attention to it when it happened. I don't remember the numbers, but their output went drastically down, and that was like their main income as a nation. But it just goes to show kind of how just like self-centered and stupid these guys are, because what they're thinking is they're like, I'm going to put this money in my pocket. Chevron's out there drilling for oil and selling, $30 billion worth of oil a year or whatever. And of course, that's not all profit to Chevron. That's a lot of just revenue and with a certain amount of profit. And then, they're just thinking, oh, I'm just going to shove this money in my pocket. I'm just going to hand over fist it. And turns out they can't squeeze $1 billion of oil out of that field because they literally don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I had another thought around that.
I believe in America, Citgo was one of the only American gas stations that was Venezuelan oil. Although I do believe Chevron is one of the countries that has Chevron's one of the companies that somehow stayed and worked out a deal with Chavez. It was not a good one. They weren't happy about it, but they just weren't willing to give up the hold in the field, and just, I'm sure they've been lobbying for this, you know what I mean?
Yeah. This regime change.
We're recording this on Sunday night, and
it's Saturday night.
So I'm sorry, Saturday. I'm off. I've been off by a day. It's Saturday night.
He got up for church this morning.
I did. I still haven't recovered from that, obviously. But everyone's really kind of watching what the market's going to do Monday.
Yeah, I'm curious. What do you think? How will this impact silver and gold, if at all? And what is silver and gold doing right now?
Silver has backed down. It's hanging around the $74, $75 mark.
I guess I'm going to be wrong, maybe, unless they do a crazy run this week.
I think, you sent me that thing where it looks like it's like being manipulated again.
Yeah, what's that about?
It's hard to say. It could be that.
They're saying this is the most manipulated silver's ever been because it's trending way down all of a sudden.
No, it's hitting this area, this resistance at 75, just like hard ceiling at 75, which oftentimes that can be a sign of manipulation. However, I don't really care. I've been a silver holder through more than a decade of manipulation, 15 plus years of manipulation. So I'm used to it. It doesn't freak me out. I know. I also, as in regards to silver, this is something I feel like I haven't emphasized enough in our silver conversations. I am not a silver investor. I am a silver saver. Like,
silver saver.
People.
Can we do this? A little hashtag?
Silver shaver.
Silver shaver, saver, not shaver.
Did I say silver shaver?
You did.
I did. I did say silver shaver.
It's hard.
Silver saver.
Silver saver.
Savor the silver.
Hashtag.
Basically, like, we purchase it in relation to a store. It's holding its store value.
Like instead of putting money in a bank.
Right. Like, but the cool thing is that there's like very little counterparty risk, meaning like when you buy a stock, that company could go out of business and you lose everything theoretically, right?
Sure.
There's no counterparty risk really.
What does that refer to? Counterparty? But
like another party involved in whether or not
I see. Like silver can't.
Does the
ruin
risk
itself.
of your investment depend on anything besides you?
Sure.
You know what I mean? And there's counterparty. There's another party over there that could crash your company that you own stock in, and you could have nothing. Where there's no counterparty risk when you own gold or silver. So it's
What about Bitcoin?
I think they would say there's no counterparty risk for that too. I disagree because I think there's a lot of potential risk there, but whatever. I don't want to talk about Bitcoin really, but it has been a savings account that happened to triple in value this year, that paid a really good interest rate and has definitely done its job in relation to inflation.
Sure.
Where if you just had your money in a savings account or a bond, you fundamentally lost money to inflation. So I like people who think about precious metals more in a savings standpoint than an investment standpoint. I am not, I don't care if you want to look at it like investment and you want it, but like, for me, that's just not what they're supposed to be.
Even a bank account is investing in your future.
A savings account?
Yeah. You mean investing like as far
looking
as
for a return on your investment. So it's like a very safe savings account that has actually made some crazy returns, as well. And bottom line, because we for example have been in silver for 15-ish years, is that it's performed its job as a hedge against inflation. That money that would, if we had just sat that cash in a bank, we would have had less money, and instead, by purchasing silver, we've actually more than kept up with inflation. To me, it's just a savings play. There are better investments you could make
to make more money.
Sure. But that is not why I look to it. I look to it as a safety net kind of.
Like we discussed on a different podcast, there is some direction to switch from 60-40 to 60-20-20 as far as investors would recommend that you have a certain percent in metals at this point because the return is good.
To represent a portion of your account that is really safe and low risk, because it's low risk, but it has actually had some decent returns. But yeah, I don't know, like there's the macro picture of silver and gold that has to do with the macroeconomic elements, the debasement of the dollar, inflation and all that, and the landscape of the world, the global reserve currency. What does the dollar's lifespan look like versus what is coming in bricks? Those are kind of your big picture things that I think are just going to continue to drive gold and silver and drive them up higher over time, whether that's the next 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, that's going to be consistent and there. And then you have your things just in your more, your Venezuela regime changes that are going to mess with the price of oil or, this or that. But I don't think that's going to gold and silver have found kind of new norms. I think they're going to keep going up, but oftentimes people get a little like we made a huge move this year. You know what I mean? Like in both gold and silver. It wouldn't surprise me if we kind of hang out around these numbers for a while and a year or more, plus or minus. But again, there's so much going on in the world right now that it is hard to say. We are not in a time where you can like look back at the last 20 years and say, well, because it took this long, we're in a time with like rapid change right now. So it could, those timelines that could used to be 20 years could be condensed to 3 right now. And we could see more constant upward movement in gold and silver than we historically have. Yeah.
So before we were speaking about, we actually recorded a whole podcast, so we're not going to put out, but we were talking about the unfavorability of a certain voting cohort towards Trump at this point, almost a year in, that he's losing some momentum or enthusiasm from his base. Do you think this helps or hinders the Venezuela thing, or is irrelevant?
I think anytime Trump deviates from that just like kind of core platform that he ran on, I think it hurts him.
Which, can you articulate what you would say that is?
Well, I would definitely, like, I do think the whole no new wars things, I think there's a lot of people who are pretty principled and this counts to them.
As
like
a war.
Like as a military intervention. And again, I hope it goes super smoothly. I know I asked this question before and you called me a neocon, so let's see how it goes this time. But is there, like, you know, the question I had was like, is there any offensive move that is necessary for our isolationists? I mean, we kind of said at the beginning of this podcast that, like, in order to be an isolationist, you kind of have to secure your perimeter a little bit, or secure your currency, or secure whatever it is, you know, secure your coastal borders from your most prevalent enemy. Is like, could that be viewed in any way as a move of America First, or is there no way to view it that way? I have the hardest time articulating this concept that I'm about to kind of articulate is that, like, if it's this the relationship between citizen and elected official, and like in the case of Donald Trump, President Trump, and myself, you know, whatever, it's one of those things where it's like he's got to be the leader and take the risk and make these decisions. Yeah. And I got to be the one to hold him accountable. And it's one of those things where, like, it's not about like one of us being right. The ultimate thing is like, does it work out for the nation, for us as Americans? Mm-hmm. Donald Trump American, Tom Cunningham American, like, and so what I look at myself as like the role of the citizen is to say, hold, don't you overdo it. Like, you have every right. We put you there. And if you believe this has to happen, if you have to bomb Iran, but God help you if you overstep and get yourself in a quagmire, you know what I mean? Like, and it's this like, it's like this give and take in this poll. And like, it can't be, we can't, I mean, Donald Trump has his ego involved because that's like him, but like, we can't let
nobody else though.
We can't have too much ego in it, because it's one of those things like, I'm rooting for Trump to pull off a regime change, to free the Venezuelan people, to have this be a beautiful thing, to secure the oil fields, to, you know, blah, 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 that we can have $1.49 gas in America.
I feel like securing the oil fields is actually a legitimate American need.
Oh, that's what I said for in the Iraq war. Like,
but also for our dollar, for our security from China. Like, I do feel like it's not just frivolous.
Well, but if we end up in a 7-year-long jungle war and 25,000 American kids die, was it worth it? You know, so it's just a give and take in a poll. I'm rooting for America here. Like, I'm rooting for it to go well for us. At the same time, I'm going to be cautiously pessimistic and go like, this is not why I put you there, Trump. You better be dang sure this is what's supposed to be done. Really, really sure.
For sure, yeah.
You know, that kind of thing. And so, does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're on the same page as far as that goes, and what our general thoughts are: hopeful, optimistic. That I think it was going to become an unavoidable conflict. Is that fair to say? If not now, at some point.
Kind of like Charlie Kirk.
What does that mean? What does that mean? He was an unavoidable conflict?
Yeah, no, I think they had to get rid of him because he was an unavoidable conflict. You had to get rid of Maduro because he was an unavoidable conflict. Sure, maybe. Yeah.
That's a weird way to answer that question. I'm not sure.
I answered it exactly how I intended to.
Okay. Do you want to elaborate as to why you feel a certain voting cohort is losing?
You want to have a shorter version of our yesterday conversation? I mean, I think that I'm picking up, this is my perspective. I'm observing it. I'm not saying I'm 100% there myself, but I'm seeing a lot of disenfranchisement in portions of Trump's base, particularly in the libertarian vote that he grabbed, the sort of independent libertarian realm, and also to a degree, definitely the like Charlie Kirk, young, Turning Point USA male, whatever you want to say. Just and I think I didn't say it enough yesterday, but in our conversation, but like definitely females as well. But there's a segment of the base that does not feel like Trump is delivering on some things.
On specifically like the drain the swamp.
Yes, specifically on the deep state, drain the swamp stuff. That, the Epstein files, he fought us on that. He's primarying Thomas Massie over it. That's a wildly unpopular thing to do.
Is Thomas Massie going to win?
I haven't looked recently, but he pushed Marjorie Taylor Greene to the point of quitting. Not a popular thing to do. And then we finally get the Epstein files. They're like ridiculously, laughably redacted. It just doesn't look like our fighter. Do you know what I mean? That is going after this stuff. We've got the foreign aid. Yes, U.S. aid is gone. That's awesome. But guess who's standing alone, sucking up money? Still Ukraine. And Israel has come to light as a major issue. And not only have we found that, America first stops at Israel with the Trump administration. But
what does that mean? Stops at Israel?
Well, like Trump is heavily invested in and donated to by Israeli interests, and that's become pretty unpopular. But that is not, there's no recognition of that in the Trump administration. They're holding to their positions, but the base is not in agreement with that.
Well,
I guess
I would argue
a good chunk of this base.
I would argue
the same people that I'm talking about.
That we are seeing, it's hard to measure and gauge because often the loudest voices does not necessarily represent the most voices. First of all. Second of all, we are in our algorithms. We are in our own echo chambers. So we tend to hear things very directly a certain way that we tend to agree with and feel like it is a marker that's bigger. One thing that I sent to you that I found interesting, and again, it could be skewed intentionally, but it is just a piece of information. The straw poll that they did at AmFest, you mentioned Charlie Kirk and young adults. This is the most attended AmFest they've ever had. They had to turn off ticketing. There was like 31,000 people there. Okay, so not a small sample of this activated young audience, right? And the question was, is Israel not a ally anymore? Is it one of many allies, meaning not, and not favored over others? Or is it our most important ally? And it was like a slim majority. I sent it to you. It was interesting to me, again, if it is true, if it is a true, accurate representation, the polls aren't being and somehow manipulated. It was Israel is not an alliance is 13%. Their one of many was 55%, and there are strongest alliance was 33%. So I found that interesting because only 13% of that audience was markedly anti our alliance continuing with Israel. And the majority, or at least half, was they're just kind of one of the allies. We don't really care either way, is how I took that. So that's interesting data to me, that we maybe are not as extreme one direction or another direction as we might present on TV. Like, you know what I mean?
I see it the opposite. I interpret that data the opposite way.
Tell me how you interpret it.
I think 13% is a substantial number. I think that 55%, it's always hard to ask to interpret. That's sort of an ambiguous answer. So I would say that you can either claim that 55% for, what are we talking about? Meaning they're saying that Israel should be treated just like any other ally, not the way they're treated right now. You know what I mean? Because they're given the red carpet treatment. There's no ally like Israel in relation to what we give them. Mm-hmm. They're like the only country that gets what they get from the United States.
Sure.
So you could say 55% says they should be knocked down a peg, which is really what most of us are saying. Like, I think their behavior says they're not an ally of the United States. I'm saying I'm willing to have a normal reciprocal relationship with them. We just have a relationship with them that is way skewed.
So which is the part that you don't like? Specifically what we give to them or what they give to us as far as donations?
Well, they don't give us anything.
They give a lot of money to a lot of politicians.
For Americans, or for their own interests.
Yes, sure.
Okay, so in the relation of as an American, what does Israel do for me?
No, that's not the question.
Oh, okay.
I was saying, what do you have a problem with? That they are giving money to politicians here?
I have a problem with that.
Okay, but
without registering as foreign agents and all that stuff, 100%. Yes, that they should play by the same rules everyone else plays by.
So if France gives money, so wait, we're talking about like French Americans. If French Americans give money to politicians, they should be registered as foreign agents.
Well, that's not a wholly fair way to say it, because AIPAC is what we're talking about.
Right.
Is specifically lobbying for Israel's interests. So, and yes, I believe that if you don't have, if you have
wouldn't we say that any
I'm against it all.
Americans, yeah. Okay, so do they currently have to, do French Americans who are lobbying for French interests have to register as
I'm saying
agents?
I mean, I have a very radical, this is the thing. If you ask me what other nations I have any sort of loyalty to, you know what I mean, is zero. My eggs are 100%, but that's what I'm saying. I have a strict standard. If you're lobbying for another nation, you're not as an American as I am. And so you might need to register as a foreign agent. If you are lobbying for an external people's interests inside my nation, I have zero other allegiances as an American. So if you're telling me you have another one, you're not as American as me, and might need to register as a foreign agent.
That's not my question. My question is, you said we treat Israel in certain ways differently, but I'm asking is, if you're a French American,
well, the funny thing is those don't really exist, but they do exist for Israel.
Okay.
Well, like the French PAC is not the issue. You know what I mean?
No, I don't. But
well, how many? Pick another. So besides Israel, what other group of people that lobbies for another country owns all of our politicians?
Somalia.
Okay, I'm against them too. Always have been. I got an interesting one for you. I heard it today on the way home. Israel just recognized a new nation in Somalia called Somaliland.
A new
It is,
nation inside Somalia, did you say?
well, it's new, so it's separate
A
from
new
a
nation.
new country.
A new
It is
country.
not a theme park.
Somaliland.
Somaliland.
Okay.
And in return for recognizing Somaliland, Israel is allowed to put bases there, military bases. Now, Israel is not a big foreign military base country. What the is expected is they're going to start flying Gazan refugees and dropping them off in Somaliland.
Okay.
Interesting, kind of next stage of...
Which actually brings me to another answer to your question potentially is, do we have, I don't know if it would necessarily be lobbyists, but you said, is there another nation, or I guess it would be, and what I'm getting at is Muslims or Islam influencing the United States, influencing the West, conquering would maybe they're not lobbying so much as conquering, but how would you view that?
What do you mean? Like,
Well, we were talking about, you
if there was
asked
a my pack,
my pack,
a Muzz pack,
pack. That sounds
I would be
aggressive.
I would ask
That
them to
sounds
be
like
registered
something
as foreign
during
agents
Pride
as well.
Week. Okay. Of course, yes. But what I'm saying is, you asked, is there another nation, which obviously they're not a nation, that is owning our politicians or influencing our politicians? Would you say that they are at that point?
Who's at that point? The Muslims?
Muslims
Um,
or Islam in general. I mean, that would argue
you mean like the
similarly.
people that live in our nation already?
Well, yeah, we're seeing like Mamdani come in, and
Well, so I mean, I think it's just as simple as the Constitution.
It's not so much lobbying, but it's a different approach than Israel's taking, but something we still need to consider.
Well, I think that this is where it gets a little gray, but like assimilation needs to occur. We don't need to be printing forms in Spanish and Indian and blah blah blah. Like, it's like you become American or you sink or swim. You know what I mean? Like, we don't cater to you, and that's not to be rude. It's to be American. Like, and we should not be giving immigrants these grant monies and these different things that allow for these different ethnicities to purchase businesses with
Totally
State
agree.
Department
For sure.
help when Americans don't get that help, like all that. No, and again, I don't care what ethnicity you are. I don't care what country you came from. It just, you can come here and you can
Fight your way.
like most American families have
Yeah.
to do, believe it or not.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, you can live here and be treated like an American and have the freedoms of an American, but you have no right
To additional benefits.
Sure. And you can exercise your freedom of religion and you can exercise your freedom of speech. But I do believe if you are not a citizen yet, or you are a naturalized citizen meaning you become a citizen, you're not born here, then your freedom of speech actually should have a stipulation to it. Because if you start spouting off death to America and like start preaching in a mosque that wants to conquer America and you're a naturalized citizen, I say we reverse that process and we send you somewhere nice like Somaliland. I'm dead serious, 100%. So it's you.
How are you different than Israel if you're sending your Gazan refugees to Somaliland?
How is that different from Israel?
I'm making a joke, Tom.
Well, first of all, for years and years and years, I did say Israel and Palestine should just fight it out. We need to have a winner. Like, let's get it over with. I finally got my wish. At the same time, it probably would have been a lot better if I didn't believe that they also killed my friend. I would probably be a little more like, what? That was weird. That was weird. It didn't kick a puppy. It like,
I was like, who's your friend? Oh, you mean Charlie? That's cute.
yeah. I mean,
He was way more my friend than your friend, P.S.
fair enough. But if you didn't,
I think you
kill
like
my
him
wife's
so
friend.
much because he, in so many ways, radicalized me.
I mean, I think, yes, all of those things, all of the above. I am so grateful to Charlie Kirk for the work he did,
Absolutely.
the way he lived his life, the example he set. His legacy speaks for itself. Our nation owes him so much. He was what do you call, not a forefather, but like a middle father.
Oh,
You know
a
what I
middle
mean?
father. I don't
He
think
was
we
a
call it that.
250th father.
I
Okay.
think he was, yeah,
He had the founder's spirit.
And I mean, I have to say, I think he would be if he were here, I think he'd be very, very measured with Israel. I think he would be furthering his criticism, but I think he would be very measured, not because he was afraid for his life, but because that is what he did and who he was. He was fiercely loyal to Trump and would be directing his base to stay in the coalition. And it would matter. It would make a difference. I think a lot of the splintering you're feeling is actually because there's this vacuum for us, that we don't have somebody directing us and helping us measure the consequences of disengaging, the consequences of inaction, the consequences of I'm over it, throwing in the towel. You know what I mean? That's all of this. Israel and the spiraling of opinion on Trump has come in the wake of Charlie's death.
I mean, I think it's kind of amazing to me that we haven't talked of all the theories that I have not heard many people say, like, was Trump involved?
Oh,
or was he
Candace
aware?
has said it. Come on.
Oh, has she? Okay,
she
good.
Says it all.
She says it all.
Actually,
Well,
I have not heard a lick about Candace
well, you know what's interesting? And
since Christmas.
from a propaganda standpoint, we've had Candace going off like crazy, right? And amidst all this Epstein stuff, she's going off on the Erica Kirk turning point, blah, 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 blah.
Ever since her and Erica sat down, it's kind of been.
And then we've got Nick Shirley opens up the can, and all of a sudden it's Somali fraud, and Epstein stuff is getting
brushed under the rug.
Pushed under the rug.
When did the second? No, the second thing just came out.
Second thing? What are you talking about?
I say the second release of Epstein. It's probably like the 18th release of Epstein, but the activation of the law that was passed that they have to release. When was that? That was only 2 weeks ago or something.
Sure.
Shortly before Christmas. But I mean, I don't know if Candace fell out of my algorithm or what is happening, but
I'll have to go look her up.
Yeah, I haven't heard. I know she's still going. I know she's still chiming out there.
It's interesting though that we've had the Candace 24/7 news cycle, 24/7 news cycle, and then we went into.
Is that what you're saying? There's just a lot of distraction.
A Somali news cycle, and now we're into Venezuela news cycle.
Away from Epstein.
Away from that stuff, which is like the key to everything.
Never get to see what we need to see in the Epstein folder, is there any other way forward as far as draining the swamp? Or
well, I will I'm at the point like where I've told you, like the way I read between the lines, the way I compare it to historical things we do understand, like yes, I can be completely convinced of something and no, I don't have the smoking gun proof of it, but I've just watched how the system works in the past. I go, this walks like a duck, talks like a duck, so this is what that is. Well, I mean, I will teach my children, you know what I mean, that the truth, you know what I mean? Like, this is
The
what
truth
happened.
according to Tom's
That's
walking,
right.
talking duck.
Which, if you think about it, this is what we used to do when there wasn't a massive education system, so to speak, that was all homogenized and taught the same thing.
Sure.
And the truth is what do we have? So it's funny because it's like Tom Cunningham goes, I'm just going to teach my kids whatever I want about this. Well, what do you think they do to our kids in public school?
Right.
You know what I mean? They teach their version of
Well,
whatever
why
they
are
want.
they so against homeschool? They don't
Right.
want
So
you teaching them the truth.
When someone might say, well, that's kind of morally a gray area to just teach them whatever you think happened. It's like, well, actually, I've spent a lot of time trying to figure it out. And the public schools are just going to teach your kids whatever they want to teach them. And we all know what a orgy of disinformation that is,
Yeah.
So what do you care if I teach my kids my version of history, that's actually, it's a lifetime of my paying attention to the world. I'm going to teach my kids.
Well, we do get to teach our kids something different about January 6th than what will be
Great example.
told about January
It's not
6th.
that when I say something like that, I'm being frivolous and just being like, oh, I'm just going to teach them whatever I want. I'm going to teach them the lies I want them to know.
Well,
That's
I
not
might
it at
be
all.
teaching them. Maybe we didn't land on the moon.
Oh my goodness.
Like, just ask questions, kids.
No, but that's a
Just ask
great
questions.
example of there is nothing wrong with teaching. And I am not a settled guy on the moon landing, but I actually have no problem with
I'm sorry, Luke.
taking something like that and using it as an example of like, kids, you go prove to yourselves that this did or didn't happen.
Yeah, that's a great way
because
to say it.
that's such a foundational thing to enter the world with, that like, don't just believe everything you see, read, etc. That you actually have to take some of these things and go, is that really real? Why do I think that's real? Why do I, quote unquote, know that that's true? You don't. And so you really have to decide, how am I going to take in the world and determine what I truly believe is true and real? And just by having a healthy skepticism, I guess you could say, in and of itself will spare you quite a bit of deception.
That's what we're doing here, is encouraging a healthy bit of skepticism, I suppose.
I'm good with that.
Good.
The world is not as it appears.
Seems.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Maybe much more so than we even think, but
I will say this in closing,
let's close it.
praying over the people of
100%.
Venezuela, the nation of
That was
Venezuela.
her last request in the email she
Was it really? I
was,
didn't even know that.
Please pray.
But I think as the church, that is
The least we could do.
a worthy thing to do right now. That whatever Trump's doing, whatever the cartels are doing, whatever this, God is sovereign.
Yeah.
God is doing something. We know that he uses unexpected people in unexpected ways to at least the human mind, and that there have been a lot of millions and millions of people in Venezuela that have been severely oppressed, persecuted,
Yeah.
and
For a long time.
that dynamic has changed. And I say we pray into it changing for
Yeah.
the better, permanently,
For
not temporarily. So keep that in your hearts and minds, and we'll see how it all unfolds.
We'll be back. Happy New Year. Thanks for joining us on the Modern Watchman podcast.
Remember, truth isn't just something we believe, it's something we live out every day.
Stay alert, stay discerning, and don't lose sight of the hope we have in Christ.
Until next time,
Be watchmen.